You might have heard about this game called Soulframe. It's the new project from Digital Extremes, the studio behind the mega popular sci-fi looter shooter Warframe. If you're not familiar with Warframe, it's a huge free-to-play game with a fantastic reputation. The developers have a history of being incredibly good to their community, listening to feedback, and sticking with the game for years, constantly adding updates and new content. They've built up a ton of goodwill with their player base, and that's a huge deal in the gaming world. So when the same studio announced their next project would be Soulframe, a fantasy action hybrid MMO, my ears perked right up. I've been a huge fan of the Souls genre for a long time, but I never really got into Warframe because of the sci-fi aesthetic. It just wasn't my style. But a fantasy game from that team, that caught my attention. I've been lucky enough to get a taste of it early. I've been playing in what's called the Soulframe Preludes, which is essentially a very early, very limited preview of the game. This isn't the full polished experience you'll get at launch. It's more of a sandbox to test out core mechanics and give the developers a chance to get early feedback. It's enough to get a real sense of what they're building. And let me tell you, I've been thoroughly impressed, and I have a few thoughts to share. First off, let's talk about the visuals. This game is absolutely beautiful, both in its artistic design and its technical execution. The art direction is top-notch, with its gorgeous, nature-infused fantasy aesthetic. It's a world where magic and nature are intertwined. The trees have an ethereal glow, the ruins are covered in moss and vines, and everything just feels alive. It's not your typical gritty fantasy, it's more graceful and stylish, drawing on inspirations like Princess Mononoke and The Neverending Story. The presentation is also a major highlight. Everything is so slick and fluid. For example, moving from your main camp or hub out into the open world is seamless. It's just the press of a button. It really helps with immersion and keeps you focused on the adventure. The character creator is also really cool. It's not just about picking a few presets. You create your character as a baby in your mother's arms while the narrator explains the features you're selecting.
As Fortide's haze cast sun through rain, so fresh was she, and of her mien.
It's a memorable and unique way to start your journey. At the end of the day, it's still just a character creator, but the way it's presented is just extremely charming and memorable.
Like weathered roots.
As for the combat, I think it's good. The animations are clean, the attacks feel impactful, and there's a satisfying sense of weight to every hit. Dodging, parrying, and attacking all feel responsive. The abilities and buffs are also well implemented, and all of this works great on a controller, which is a huge plus for me because that is how I like to play. However, I will admit that the lack of a lock-on mechanic has thrown me for a loop. As someone who plays a lot of Souls games, which rely heavily on locking onto enemies to manage movement and camera angles, this takes a little bit of getting used to. It's not a huge deal, but it has forced me to be more deliberate with my attacks and positioning, which isn't good or bad, it's just a bit of a change of pace. And so far, I've been able to play all of the content as a single player experience, which is a huge plus for me. The combat is challenging but fair, and I haven't hit a wall yet where I feel like I need to bring in a friend. I'm nowhere near finishing the available content, and I know that later on I'll need to group up with other people for harder bosses, since that is the design of these types of games. But for now, as someone who really enjoys single-player experiences, I've been able to approach this game from that perspective and have a really good time. I also like this game's take on the death mechanic. when you die, you have to return to your corpse to reclaim your glory. And I like how, to do that, you take the form of a bird and you have to fly back to your body within a certain amount of time. Or, if the situation is a little bit too risky, you can just choose to simply revive and try a different approach, which is a nice option to have. But it's not perfect. This is a very early preview, so there are some things that I hope to see refined and added as the game develops. For one, I would love to see some form of fast travel. The world is gorgeous, and I love exploring it, but getting around can be a little slow. There's currently no way to fast travel. The community has come up with a taxi system where players will put into the chat that they want to travel to a place, and they'll be able to get another player to help them do that. And it's a really interesting, fun workaround that kind of reminds me of the early days of World of Warcraft, but a proper fast travel system would be a huge help. The enemy variety is also pretty limited right now. You end up fighting a lot of the same few enemy types, which makes sense as this is early in development, but I'm hoping that as the game expands, we'll see a lot more unique creatures and foes to fight. Finally, I've found that the quests can be a bit vague. Sometimes it's not clear where you need to go or what you need to do to progress a quest line. Even with the help of the navigational bird system and all of that, sometimes things are a little bit obscure, a little bit vague, or a little bit hard to put together. A bit more clarity in the quest log or in-game hints would be a huge help, especially for players who prefer a more guided experience, and just to help you keep that feeling of progress and momentum as you play through the game. But so far, as a primarily single-player gamer who loves Souls games, I've been having a great time with Soulframe. The stunning visuals, unique character creator, satisfying combat, they've all really impressed me. I'm looking forward to continuing to play and seeing what else this slice of the game has to offer. Maybe I'll make some more videos on it in the future. If you're interested, let me know in the comments below. I'm confident that Digital Extremes will continue to build this game alongside its community. I truly hope that it finds its audience and becomes as big of a success as Warframe was, and is. What are your thoughts? Does Soulframe's aesthetic appeal to you? Or are you more of a sci-fi fan? Since you're on this channel, I think I know the answer to that question. Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this first look, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.